You may have noticed as we've been working with Publisher that the zoom level is adjusted for you depending on the template or the publication you're working on. For example, in previous lessons as we worked on our business card, you may have noticed that the zoom level was set very high at over 200%. This allowed us to see the full width of the business card on our screen and read all of the content. Obviously, when we go to print our business cards, they're not going to be so huge, so we only zoom in to be able to view the contents better. Now, when we use a larger document like a brochure or maybe a flyer, a newsletter, for example, to view the layout of the actual publication, we would need to zoom out and therefore probably not be able to read the actual content in the publication. So it's important to know how to zoom in and out quickly to be efficient when you're working with content and layout at the same time in a publication. So what we're going to do is actually open up an existing publication. Let's go up to our File menu, click File, and then Open. Control-O on the keyboard is a shortcut. This time, though, we're going to navigate to the Lesson 3 folder of your exercise file. So I'm going to double-click that. And I'm going to open up Brochure 3A here. So double-click Brochure 3A or one-click and open. So here's an example of a publication or a document that is actually a much larger document. So it's a full-size page as opposed to a business card, which means to see the entire contents and the layout, we need to be zoomed out. So you'll notice up here that we've got right here on our standard toolbar a 68% showing up, and that is our current zoom level. In other words, it's the default. Now we can change zoom levels a number of different ways, and because we can see it right here, you'll notice there is a drop down next to that value. And if we click the drop down, look at all the values to choose from. These are the presets. 100% would be actual size. So you can see when we choose 100%, well, it might be a little easier to read what's on the actual brochure now, but we need to use our scroll bars to be able to see the various sections of this publication. So let's try another one. We'll click the drop down and let's go to 75%. Well, now we can see more of the publication at once on our screen, and we don't need to use the scroll bars quite as much, but then you can see it's actually quite difficult to view some of the content. If I go to page 2, for example, there's lots of text here that's impossible to read. So let's go over to our zoom buttons now. We've got a minus and a plus sign on a magnifying glass representing the zoom out and the zoom in button. So if I wanted to zoom in, I click the plus sign here, and with each click you can see I'm zooming in to a new level. So here I'm at 200%. If I click the drop down, the next one would be 400, then 800. Let's see if that's true. We'll click the plus sign. Sure enough, we're at 400 and now 800. The minus sign with each click takes us back through the various levels on the drop down. Now this one down here called Whole Page, when we click that, allows us to see the entire page, but again, this would be useful in laying out our document as opposed to working on the actual content or text in our document, which is now very difficult to read. Another option from the drop-down is page width. Now for us, in this particular document, we're not going to see any change because we can see the full height of our document. But when we work with a business card, for example, and we want to see the entire width, we may not be able to see the entire height. With a landscape document like this, we do. Now there's other ways to get to your zoom levels as well. We can go to the View menu up here, and when we click View, you'll notice Zoom down at the bottom. So there's Whole Page and page width again, and there's the various levels that we saw from the drop-down on our standard toolbar. So with each one of these, you can see I have the exact same choices here from the drop-down. So that allows us to zoom in and out of our documents quickly. You may want to use your buttons, your drop-down, or if you're not using the toolbars, remember you've always got all of those choices here on the View menu.